Okay, now officially for the recording. Hey, it's Koha Sig time. Let's talk about systems administration. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of bugs to go through. I don't know that we have a lot of discussion to have about each one, but most of what we did at that last meeting was kind of build a list of bugs people were excited about. So I thought it might be worth having some follow-up conversation there. But before I do that, let's do quick introductions just because I don't know everybody here and maybe y'all don't know each other. I'm Andrew. I'm the assistant director at the Dubuque County Library District in Dubuque, Iowa. I just had the most terrible moment of blankness there where I forgot where I worked for a second. Yeah, I've been here for about 4 months. Before I was here, I worked at Bywater, which is I think how I ended up doing this particular thing, running this SIG, being a person who just knows a bunch of Koha junk and needs to periodically spew it out into Zoom or my head backs up. But I will pass along to Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Johnson. I am Technical Services Manager at Bedford Public Library, Texas. Bedford is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. And I am the current Koha US president until December. How about Anne next?
Oh, hi, I'm Anne Flanoy. I am the manager at the Keller Public Library in Keller, Texas, very close to Bedford. So, I'm new here. I just learned about the SIGs at the Koha conference last month. So I'm excited to see what we can learn. I guess Rebecca.
Thank you both for picking up on my unspoken structure.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Coert. I work with Arlington Public Library in Virginia, not Texas. I've been with the county for 24 years, and I'm kind of a Jill of all trades. I do some sysadmin, some circ admin, data analysis, report writing. And I love this group because it's a wealth of resources. So I will pass this to Jason.
Hello, I'm Jason Robb. I am the Seek and Find Coordinator at the Southeast Kansas Library System here in Kansas. We have a consortium of 49 libraries, 48 publics, and 1 community college library. And I'll pass to Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather, and I'm the Technical Services Librarian at San Francisco Maritime National Historical Park. We're a special museum collection supported by Bywater Solutions, and I do lots of cataloging and whatever sysadmin things I can do. And I joined late, so I don't know who to pass it to.
Daphne, Dwight, and Bob.
Hi, I'm Daphne Hoolahan from Interleaf Technology in Ireland. I'm the support manager here, so we support all our users in Ireland and do the training. And I love this group because I try to get ahead of bugs that we haven't encountered yet, or the good reports that are coming out, and then I pass them off as right ideas over here. And I'll pass over now to Dwight. I think you were next in.
Okay, yeah, it's Dwight Walker. I'm from Australia. I have my own library of 3,500 books. My father had a large library, so I used it to research a book. He wouldn't tell us what he did, so I just catalogued everything. But yeah, I find there's some system administration issues that this may be good for, and I do Linux server stuff. Like I installed Koha and imported records from a resource mate, which was hard. But yeah, I went to the Koha con, and then I have this thing in my calendar, so it reminded me something's on tonight. So I thought I'll give this a shot. And I did enjoy that conference for this sort of like that. Yeah, there you go.
Great. Well, welcome, Dwight.
Thank you.
And Bob, I think you're our last people.
Yeah, hello, Bob Benhoff. I am in Colorado. I manage Aspen, which is a consortium that mixes all types of libraries, and we have 152 on 2 different servers.
Okay, well, before we dive into listo bugs, does anybody have any burning subjects they really want to discuss? Be that something that's been driving you crazy, something you're really excited about? Mad Koha schemes?
I've tried to upgrade to 21 or whatever it is, but I can't get past 20.11. So if there's a, I've done apt-get, update, upgrade, still nothing. So I remember you had to change some, was it in the settings? Yeah, that would be a helpful tip.
I'm sad to say, Dwight, I think you're pitching sysadmins of one variety and we're sysadmins of a different variety. We're more the like user end.
You're the user guys. All right. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Sorry.
It's like, yeah, that.
I'll Google the answer. That's all right. Don't worry.
I would also point you to, I've lost it, IRC. If you go to the Koha Wiki, you can find details for how to get into the Koha IRC channel. And that's a good place to find dev folk who will actually know how to help you with upgrade and installation and more like techie backend questions.
All right. Okay.
Seeing nobody else rushing to raise their hand, I'm going to share my screen and talk about some of these bugs that we piled up. I'm going to remember that Zoom wants to hide my chat when I share my screen. So yeah, last month rather, during KohaCon, we threw a bunch of bugs in here, just things that people brought up, and I wanted to run back through them again. I did not record who mentioned each of these. This first one I know is mine. And this is exciting because it passed QA, hooray. Hopefully this comes into Koha soon. This bug actually in my head, I have filed under Rebecca Coert because I think I filed this while helping Arlington. And this is about return policy. This is for like floating items. Right now you set in your circ rules at check-in whether an item should stay where it got checked in or go back home. But that rule at point of check-in always gets enforced based on the item's home library rather than caring about where you're actually doing that check-in. So exciting thing to get fixed. The thing that I've run into this with is libraries that want to have a branch that is their central processing area. So like we have a library that is tech services, and everything that gets checked in at tech services needs to route off someplace else. Nothing actually lives at that branch. There's not really a way to accomplish that until this bug gets pushed. But yeah, good news is it's past QA, so it should be coming into master soon, knock on wood.
Can I had an interesting, something came up and it sounds like it might be related to this weekend.
Sure.
So we've noticed that when we're in a consortia and we ship things between the libraries, if something is on hold and you check it in and it's shipped to another branch, but then you cancel that hold and you try and check it back in at its home library, we still own the item. It's still, Koha still wants you to ship it to the library.
Oh, so like canceling the hold didn't cancel the transfer?
Right, it still thinks it's in transit, and so it still wants to go. So you have to go through some extra steps to cancel the transfer, but canceling the hold should also cancel the transfer, I guess. And I wonder if that's controlled by the return policy.
I wouldn't think the return policy would be directly involved there.
Okay.
But I would not be at all surprised if there is already a bug saying that when we cancel that hold, we should also cancel that transfer.
I'll look into that one some more.
Yeah.
I know I don't have that issue because if I check it in, then it recognizes the hold's not there, and then it wants to remove that. I think I haven't tested it in a while, but I don't think we have that issue.
I think it's related to one of the system preferences, but off the top of my head, I can't think of which one. It has to do with Hell, I don't know how to describe it.
I did get a sandbox up, so don't look at anything important. See, I don't remember a system preference that would hit. Yeah.
It seems like there's a system preference that has to do with what happens to an item on hold when you check it in.
Yeah.
But I can't think of the name of the.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so easy to keep track of all the system preferences. I don't know why it's slipping my mind.
All right, put that on the list of things to look into.
I mean, you
Is
can
that
eventually, you can cancel it if you click through enough things. It's just confusing for staff because they're checking in an item that's owned by us, but Koha is saying, please return this to a different library.
Yeah.
So.
And I can say that we have this problem too. I don't, there are extra steps involved and people get frustrated.
Yeah.
I want to say it's a system preference that when you check something in, does it automatically change the holding library, or do you have to click a button before the holding library gets changed?
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay.
So automatic item return.
No, it's not that one. Oh, actually, no, it might be that one. Yeah, I think it's that one. I think it's depending on how you have that one set controls that behavior.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think that might be part of it. I don't remember. I know that I have this problem too, but I don't think of it as a problem. I think of it as an opportunity for more work.
I'm afraid my staff doesn't agree.
That does sound like there is absolutely a bug enhancement there. So it's like, yeah, not quite a thing that's broken, but a thing that could work better for everybody.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that'll be something to kind of look at. And if I can find a clear answer, I'll send one out after this meeting.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. So that was, we tangented off of bug 25426. Next one here, 25901. Let me copy this link. This one hasn't gone anywhere. But this is for claims returned. There's that system preference that asks, get out of the way. The claims returned warning threshold, if your patron has more than this many claims, put the big angry note on their account at checkout. This bug is to make it possible for that threshold to only count unresolved claims, which makes sense. We don't need to get them in trouble for stuff that ultimately was resolved. I think, Rebecca, was this one of your bugs? Did you bring this one up?
Yes, that's me.
Do you have any further thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many patrons that have hundreds of claims returns, especially if they've kept kids' books. And when we look at the counters, we're like, oh my gosh, this is a really bad patron. And then you realize 99 of them are resolved. And you're like, oh, well, no, it's really on us. So yeah, anything with improving the claims return function would be much appreciated.
I think at some point Koha was going to learn to automatically delete resolved claims that are more than so old.
Yeah, I think that's another bug. Yeah, I think I put in a whole bunch after we got the claims return up and running. But it has been in discussion. This is sort of what I was talking about at Koha, KohaCon. It was like these things have been around since 2020 when we started with Koha, and it's like it's still here.
Yeah, and that kind of describes claims returned as a whole. It's not perfect.
It's getting better.
Yeah, but there's a lot of room for growth and adaptations, but kind of needs someone to push it.
Yeah.
It needs money thrown at it.
Yeah. frankly, I don't think any of the professional support companies are looking for work, or rather like looking for things to do. They're all busy enough that unless they're specifically getting paid, there's not a lot of big projects just being undertaken for fun.
I suggest just the previous one. I had an idea. Why don't kind of rolls back to the old branch? You know what I mean? You know, in that earlier one, you had where it sort of gets stuck and goes to the wrong one, like keeps going forward. Maybe it should, like what they call rollback. You just have a setting, draw. The logic will say if it's cancelled, also pushes it back to the other branch rather than not changing the branch. There's something. It's like, because yeah, when things break in databases, usually you say let's roll back to the previous one that's safe. But yeah, there probably is just some logic missing there. But,
yeah. We have a few bugs about holds. None of these have moved since KohaCon either. Here's more of me fussing about return policies. This is I don't have an example of this I can show you that won't have patron names on it. But this is on the holds awaiting pickup page that lists all your things that are sitting on the hold shelf. It gives you a little cancel button right from there if you've decided that if the patron lets you know they don't want it anymore. Right now, that will always route that item back to its home library, which again, like for a lot of consortium, that's just not a thing that makes sense. For my library, that's not a thing that makes sense. If we've canceled a hold, we want the item to just stay where it is. And Koha just doesn't know how to do that via this particular button. That one in the chat. And then a couple things about customizing the holds queue, which probably, I would guess that y'all are using the holds queue more than hold. No, sorry, that thought didn't make any sense. Forget that sentence started. It's a non-sentence. But yeah, two things about the holds queue: making a specific shelving location column, and then also somewhat different purposes, making just the bibliographic information in the holds queue customizable as a whole. Like, what mark field do you want to see? Again, those are just, I think I've seen a lot of holds queue questions that come down to what makes sense for different libraries for how they pull that list and what their, how their things are physically shelved.
I've always thought that, and I've never opened a bug about this, I've always thought that the column customization should also include the ability to reorder the columns.
Oh, just like left to right? Yeah, that would make total sense.
Yeah, to put them in whatever order you want them in, not just, is this column visible or not, but which one do you want to show on the left? Left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just which order do you want these to be in? But I've never opened a bug on that.
I did try to open a sandbox earlier and it really yelled at me, and it's still mad at me. Oh, sandbox.
Andrew, do you have a login for the koha-US demo?
I do not.
Let me see if I can get you one by the end of this meeting.
Okay. We'll let that one try again. Anybody have any other like holds queue or holds generally questions or concerns?
I mean, I've always thought it was not a very useful arrangement, especially the way the title displays with so much extra information, like how it has the page numbers and the ISBN. Like, that's not helpful. I wouldn't think hardly anybody when they're pulling things. I actually wrote a SQL report that replaces the whole queue just so we could customize what it is. But if we could have it just built into the circulation, like just just the information, just in what displays in the title column, if we could edit what that is, would be super helpful.
And that's absolutely this bug, the 29079. And yeah, like luckily the holds queue, it's easy to write a custom report to kind of replace it.
I don't know if I would
format.
say it was easy. It was the first one I ever tried. I wouldn't say it was easy, but, and then in the end, it's hard because Koha doesn't ever assign a circulation value to anything that's checked in. So in order to find something that's checked in, you have to eliminate so many other things. So it was a little tricky.
Are you using the holds queue specifically, or the holds to pull list?
The whole queue, right? I mean, thinking I don't do it. The other department does it. So
And you probably are, because you are in a consortium, and the holds queue is the one that has like good consortial logic.
It's the queue.
The way Koha builds that holds queue, you shouldn't ever really need to be checking for item availability. When Koha makes the holds queue, it runs a cron job that creates a temporary table of hold targets. And you can just query that.
Okay, I remember this now.
Okay.
I'm going, but I think my SQL report is actually, because the whole queue only updates every so often.
Correct.
So I think the SQL report can pull it live.
Ah, okay. George has sent me login information, so I can make a mess.
Feel free, we can ask Bywater to clean it up if you make a mess in there.
Yeah, get to work, Bywater. Sure. What did I come here for? Oh, for the holds queue.
There's a pretty good chance there's nothing in it.
Yeah,
No.
nothing good. That's okay. But thank you for the Koha. And the other thing, which is probably also going to be empty. Oh yeah, this page. So if this hold weren't expired already, it'd be over on this tab, and it would have a cancel and route home button. And I would like it to have a button that says cancel and do what your return policy says should happen to this item.
So Andrew, sorry,
Yeah.
if I ask right now, if you use that button, does it not, if there's a line, does it not go to the next person even?
It does not automatically trigger the next hold. It still requires a check-in to do that.
Okay.
And I know there's a bug for that. I was just looking at that somewhere. Oh, because I was looking at canceled holds. Oh, here we go. A nice antique bug, number 4948 from 2010. When canceling a waiting hold, allowed to trigger hold for next patient. Yeah, and I know this comes up periodically. With that sort of question of do you want it to automatically grab the next hold or not? This bug hasn't gone anywhere in a long time.
It says it's closed.
Oh,
4849? Oh, sorry,
uh,
I got the wrong number.
oh, 4948.
Sorry.
But I think that other one is in fact it too. Allow automatically canceled expired waiting hold to fill the next hold. So this would be only if you have the cron job automatically closing them out for you, then it would roll to the next one. And this is in 2211. That'll be nice. The next three bugs that people brought up, I think these were all Barbara, and they're all OPAC things. Barbara wants more facets.
It just seems like you know, when you go to sites like Amazon or whatever, you know, you can limit by a date range. And so what was it? It was date range and age. I can't even remember what they were.
Let's see, date added, star ratings and target audience. Which,
Date.
yeah,
Date would be the one I'd really like to see.
yeah, Aspen does something like that where you
Mhm.
can click a button to limit your search to like things added in the last 60 days.
Mhm. And in there's a most popular link that you can get. And I don't frankly use that very often, but that has, you know, some date limiting in it. And it seems like that could be, whatever that code is, you know, might be a starting point for doing something in the facets.
Yeah. When you say the popularity, you mean the drop down here?
No, there's the most popular link up there in the advanced search, and along that under the search bar, there's a most popular. And that one has some like acquired in the last 3 months, that down the last one above the submit button.
I don't think I've ever seen this page before.
I really don't use it much, but I did notice that it had some date limiting in it.
Is that a system preference to turn that on and off? Where does that come from? Well, that'll be something for me to worry about later. What a weird little page. And I wonder how well it works.
Not very well, I don't think. Because trying to think. Like you can limit by item type and you can limit by collection. For us, our specificity comes from the actual shelving location. And I think that's why it doesn't really work for us as much.
Sure. Well, then I know, like, if you're using this popularity sort in your search results, that looks at the biblios.issues number that requires your Koha to be running the cron job that takes the individual item issue totals or individual item issue counts and totals them into the bib, and that cron job is probably not running if Bywater is supporting your system, just because it's a big messy resource hog, which makes this drop down not work very well.
Okay, good to know.
Does anybody have other OPAC facility questions or comments? I'm kind of vaguely enjoying being out of the Koha OPAC business. We only use Aspen, and I don't know anything about Aspen, so I keep making it Lisa's problem. Lisa can hear me. She's very nice. And then we've got a few little admin bugs down here in a variety of statuses. This first one is a big pie in the sky bug, and it is the GUI for crons.
And that's a brand new one, right?
This is another 4-digit bug filed in 2012. You want to talk about things that have been a Koha topic forever and really do need someone to jump in with a vision and a pot of money, this would be the one. Or, you know, one of the ones. Toss this back into the meeting chat. And this is just the idea that, you know, right now, all of our Koha systems have a whole bunch of cron jobs that run every day and do a whole lot of important things. And by and large, we as end users have no view onto what those things are doing, because they're all running off of a cron file that at least like for those of us who are supported by somebody else, there's not an easy way to see that. I don't have command line access to my Koha server. Nobody wants to give me that, like me included. And there's not a better way to see that stuff.
If you are a Bywater customer, you can ask and they'll send you a text file of the cron tab text file. And good luck figuring it out.
Ta-da! Yeah, like here it is. These are our crons. Now,
Yeah.
the cron file has changed since they sent me this.
Yeah.
I suppose if I asked, they would probably set up something that would send me one every week, I suppose. And they're legible with a fair amount of background and head scratching. If you have not ever bookmarked this page, I broadly recommend it. This is just the Koha GitHub. So this is the Koha code, but this is specifically the section of GitHub that lists all of the cron jobs that Koha can run. This is still a level of like, let's go parse out some Perl code, but it can be helpful. Like if I'm looking at my cron file, oh, I don't even wanna, and see like it's, we're running cleanup database with all of these arguments. And I can come over here to the GitHub page and find cleanup database and make sure that I'm looking at the correct version of Koha. What are we at? I think we're on 2111. I don't remember. And then read through all those options and what they all mean and what they all do. It's kind of a lot, technically doable. So yeah, again, this bug is the crazy idea that all of these things could be set in the Koha staff interface, where we would have both visibility on them and control on them to be able to like change those things on the fly rather than put it in a ticket, ask somebody else to do it. Or for folks who are self-supported, a GUI would just give you like a more rational way to interact with all of this.
You could use a regex with Perl, and then I get because of all those options, that's tricky. Like there'll be a finite number of options, isn't there? Like all those commands you had. Like
Yeah.
And then hopefully there's not too many more. You just have to keep adding more as they came in.
Yeah.
And,
and that's the thing, like the cron jobs are going to change and then the interface needs to change, and it's just, it'll be great to have done someday. Or I could even be more rational or realistic and say it would be great to have good done someday. But it's a thing.
is all that stuff just in GitHub, all that code? So you know, presumably you could walk through it, can really, and just keep recreating itself. Yeah.
Yeah, totally doable.
Hmm.
Another one kind of along similar lines of this could happen, and it would be cool if it did. I think Christopher brought this one up. Actually, I haven't seen Christopher. This bug is in discussion, which is the often sort of the polite Koha community way of saying nobody wants to get into it. No one wants to touch this bug. But this is the idea that we could merge a bunch of tables. So the biblio table and the items table and related ones, there's the live version that are the bibs that are actually in your system right now. And then the deleted version, when you delete a bib, it just pops over to the deleted table. There are a whole bunch of reports that would be a lot easier to write if instead that was just one big table, all of your bibs with a flag in there. Is this deleted or not? So when you deleted a bib, instead of moving to a new table, it would just get a new flag on it that said this bib is deleted.
I would say one of the great advantages of the way it is now is I learned so much about writing SQL by having to deal with this. I mean, it was a really difficult problem to overcome, and learning how to be better at SQL is a result of that. So
You're not wrong.
You just have a one by like a chart that says YRN, but
Yeah.
that seems simple.
Yeah, this is absolutely one of those bugs that is like, it's a bug to correct a sort of weird design choice a long time ago. Like this probably would have worked better this way from the get-go.
Correcting bad choices a long time ago is also a big part of my job description.
Sure. This is again a bug that like it's probably not going to go in anywhere until somebody really starts pushing it and probably puts some money behind it, and it's going to be a real bear to test. That's my hesitation here. I love the theory of this bug. It scares me in practice.
Does that
Because
delete table, the list of deleted objects, does that get used by anything else? Well, you don't know. 'Cause if you didn't use it, it might get out of sync, and then you create, kind of slippage somewhere.
I can't think of any. Well, there are places in Koha that look at those deleted bibs and deleted items to like tell you the title of a book that a patron had an overdue fine for a long time ago or something like that. Yeah, and that's the stuff that makes me nervous, that we're going to misplace in pushing this bug out. We're going to miss places where we actually were using that data and now we've moved it and some module doesn't know where to find it anymore. And our very last bug in here is a bit of good news. This one pushed to master. Hooray. This one is fixed. I don't remember who brought this up in the meeting last month, but starting in 2211, the action logs will, in addition to marking when a cron job started, it'll mark when that cron job finished, making it way easier to like look at when your cron jobs actually ran, whether or not they were successful, whether or not they finished like they were supposed to. So those were all of the bugs that came up at our last meeting. Does anybody else have things they've been running up against recently or bugs they want to talk about? Or
I had a question. So
Sure.
I had a bug and it says it's signed off in Bugzilla. So what's the next step?
The next step after a bug gets signed off is for it to get QA'd. Do you have a bug number?
I do. It is 28396. It's a very small issue, but our catalogers would very much like this to be fixed now.
Sure.
That's about pagination.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so it's been signed off by Donna, which is great. But I was kind of curious, like, what's next? Because I haven't actually followed a bug through the whole process.
Yeah, so next is that somebody on the QA team needs to QA this, needs to like make sure it does what it says and doesn't break anything. That can get to be a little bit of a sticking point because Lucas, who wrote this code, works at Bywater. Nobody else at Bywater can QA this, so they're relying on somebody else in the community. There's, pretty good quid pro quo there, but that can be a sticking point just because nobody at Bywater can just do it for you.
Okay.
George unmuted, and I didn't know if that was meaningful.
I was going to talk about an issue that we've had, and one of the things that I'm asking Bywater to do. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
And then find the right screen here. So we had an issue last week where we have all of our staff at 51 libraries sign into the staff interface using like Leavenworth Public Library. Their director is Lev Director. Their cataloging staff are Lev Tech. Their circulation staff are Lev Circ. Well, one of our libraries, somebody logged in as library circ, went in and changed all of the data on the private library card of their supervisor and left some nasty messages and changed their data. And so this is a library where there's like 8 people that log in as circ from that library all at the same time every morning. So there's no really good way to figure out who did it. So we're looking at the idea that every employee at 51 libraries is going to need to have a personalized login. And one of the things that I think that would help that is having a timeout different than right now, the login timeout is set globally for staff and for the OPAC. And so this is what I'm looking at. This is what I've asked Bywater to write a spec on, is what would it take to get a timeout to be controlled at the borrower category level. And so I wanted to let everybody know that that's one of the things that I'm looking at. And so I'm going to find out what Bywater will, because there is a bug related to this. I don't remember what the bug number is. Oh, here it is. It's 15428. So people have talked about this before in the past, different timeout preference for the OPAC and the internet. And I think this would be one way to solve that, is to say, you know, borrowers that are just regular borrowers set one timeout, and for staff accounts set a different timeout. So I wanted to make everybody aware of that, because if it's an easy bug, if it's only a few $1,000s, that's not a big deal for us. But if it's going to be like, you know, $8,000–10,000, then I might be back here in a month or two saying, does anybody want to chip in? So I thought I'd bring that up. And I actually didn't ever share the screen, did I? This is what I'm thinking of in terms of, this is my mock-up of what that would look like on the borrower category page. That just kind of mimics what the system preference already does. And it'd be like the minimum password length preference that's in there now, and the other ones to say either follow this existing preference or override it for this category with this new setting. So.
George, did you say you were looking at bug 15428 for that?
Yeah, 15428 is the one that already exists out there. For people who have been asking about, you know, could we have a different timeout for the OPAC and the staff interface, since it looks like that one only goes back to 2015. So it's only 7 years old, as opposed to some of those 4-digit bugs we mentioned.
Yeah. One more thing on Rebecca's question about QA. This is the release team page on the Koha Wiki, listing who is the current 2211 release team, including who all the QA people are. So these are the folks who are empowered in the community to do that next step on your bug. If you know any of these people at all, if you want to go over to IRC and ask for some favors, that I've had some luck in the past with trading sign-offs for QAs that can work well. If you're able to, you know, maybe Martin or somebody has a bug that they've written code for that you could sign off on a sandbox, and in exchange, they could QA this bug that you're wanting to get moved forward. Horse trading is always in vogue. I'll put this link in the chat.
Thanks, Andrew.
Sure.
For that question from George, wouldn't there be a user type? So you'd have like admin and then staff maybe, and then, I don't know, patron. So you could detect, you know, when you want to split between those 3 different timeouts. So anyway, but you want specifically to that end user.
Yeah, currently we have, I think, 43 different borrower categories in Koha. And one of them is the code is staff, and I think the way that appears in the is system login only.
But divided into the users direct, you know, down to that level. Okay.
Yeah, the end users, the actual patrons are usually divided into adult or child, or some variation on adult or child. And then I think there's about 10 each of adult and child borrower categories. And then there's some professional ones and a couple of organizational ones. So we have plenty of places where it makes sense for us to have different
Every category, not just the staff. You want to do it for every category.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that, Dwight.
You wanted to do for all the categories, not just the staff, but you want to do for the patrons by type of user. Yeah.
You know, the timeout right now is set globally as a system preference. I think it's just called timeout, but it would be nice if in certain categories the timeout could be different.
Oh. Okay.
And that's the same way we pay when we asked Bywater to develop the preference that does password length, because password length had always been a global system preference. But and for our borrowers, you know, a 4 or 5 digit password makes sense. But then for the staff client, that means for the staff interface, there's also a minimum of a 4 or 5 digit password. And I wanted a way to make one stronger for certain categories. And so that's the way we handle that, is it follows the system preference unless there's an override on a specific category. And I think there's a couple of other areas where that's something in the future that might be a good way to deal with differences between the staff client and typical borrowers, is to have, you know, the ability to override a global system preference through changing adding a function to the borrower category.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
We've got 10 minutes left. The other thing we're supposed to talk about is reports, and we haven't talked about SQL at all. Does anybody have something really amazing they've done in SQL recently that they can't wait to brag about? Or conversely, does anyone hate SQL right now and want to gripe about something that's been driving them nuts?
Can it be both?
Yeah, both at the same time.
I don't know. I write so many reports and so often. I've probably written 4 or 5 reports since the conference, and I don't remember what any of them are. And I probably hated most of it. Oh, actually, I've got one right here that I just wrote last Friday. It looks like somebody wanted to know circulation by list name.
Oh, that's fun.
And so I wrote a report that's just I mean, that's it right there. It gets me the list name, titles in the list, and the circ renew count for the previous calendar month. And then I've got a link here that'll take me to the list on the staff interface, or a link that'll take me to that same list in the OPAC. And the SQL for that is, well, it was only 54 lines. I did good there. But I should probably put that on the wiki because it's not a bad one. And I can't paste it into chat, and I don't know why. Probably because it's too long.
Oh, yeah, I suppose.
I had to write an interesting report this month. So we're switching to an automated system for sorting. And so it prints the hold slips and it doesn't understand people with 2 last names. And so I wanted to know how many of our patrons had 2 words in their last name. So I had to write a report that found everybody that had more than 1 word in their last name. And it was quite easy once I figured it out, but I was really excited that I got that.
Well,
I don't
so,
know.
you know,
Yeah.
What did you do? How did you make it do?
So basically you had to look for something that was a length of the name and then replace it with I wonder if I can copy it in chat because it's really a short one.
Sure. It probably will let you, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it just gave everybody that had more than one word with this, I think it looked for the spaces in the name.
Okay, yeah. Here, can I copy this? And put it somewhere where we can all see it better.
I just managed to find, I just sent everybody the MySQL through a link.
Okay, so yeah, we're saying give me the patrons where the length of their surname minus the length of their surname with all the spaces pulled out. I'm confused about that +1 though.
Yeah, I can't remember why that was either. But it works. It gives me
Yeah.
everybody that has 2 names in their last name or more.
That's fun. I like, I'm gonna spend some time thinking about this math.
Right.
Now, see, I might have just said like where surname is like, and then been really lazy and just said there's a space in there somewhere, wildcard it both directions.
Sure.
I bet yours runs a little faster than mine would.
And I had to make sure I didn't include the ILLs because those are all, city or, library names and stuff. So they had lots
Sure.
of spaces.
That is a fun, goofy question. Now I want to know how many of my patrons have 2 last names. The SQL thing I've been banging my head against recently is we've been looking at our circ rules and specifically circ or checkout limits. How many items can a patron have at a time? And I've been trying to figure out some way to get Koha to like talk to me about how often our patrons are hitting those limits. And this seems like a SQL challenge. Like probably if I wanted that data, I should have been saving snapshots of some sort every day in order to go back and look, because I can't really figure out at this point how to say like, which patrons had 50 books checked out on October 3rd without getting deep in the weeds of looking at issue date and return date on everything in the old issues table.
The guy literally told him this thing.
I'm just watching Jason's face. He's like, oh.
The wheels are turning, but nothing's coming out.
I know that face.
I'll have to sleep on that.
Yeah, if anybody comes up with a great idea. Otherwise, I think we're running out of time. So last call for questions.
Well, just before you do, I had when I was trying to clean up books and split it into books and I don't know, audio or something. Yeah, I used iType and I had a little thing on my top toolbar by iType. You could put the code in and I think it listed out so you could triage, when you mess up a import basically. But I think iType helped me clean it because you could kind of say the remaining books, it's not really books, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think I found the code somewhere in the SQL.
Nice. Okay, well, so our next meeting will be, what's it, November 8th? It's the second Tuesday of the month. In the meantime, if y'all are running into things you want to throw on the agenda, please do email me. I'll send something out a week or so before the next meeting. I am going to poke at Anne's question about canceled transfers and holds. That seems like there must be a bug out there already.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, thanks everybody. We'll see you next month.
Thanks.
See you
Thanks,
later,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a good day.
Dwight, I saw you asked the email for the agenda. Let me grab you. The easiest way would be to just sign up on Koha US. Find that.
The Koha, yeah, Koha US. Okay, I'll send it to them.
Yeah.
It's a bit late night here, but I'll just send it to the main Koha US link, because you're linked to all that, aren't you?
Yeah. On that Koha US website, somewhere in here, there's a place to get on the SIG mailing lists. That's what I want.
Oh, really? I'll dredge. I'll dredge it up somehow. But that's good. Yeah. Anyway, otherwise I'll just come along and do something. But yeah.
Okay.
Good one. Thanks for that. Bye.
Have a good one.